Alright, Mr. Bat, I'm gonna have to ask you to settle them down. This game's an E10, not a 38DD. The long-awaited update to Project 06 is finally here, and it is a hell of a good time. Obviously, this is the Silver update. This adds Silver's story and all of his levels, along with Blaze and Amy as playable amigos. But there's been substantial changes across the board, even though it's Silver's update. So I want to go into Sonic's first, and then Shadow's story before getting onto the main event. First of all, I don't know if there's just been like a general update to the game engine itself or anything like that, but controls for controlling characters feels just tighter and more responsive across the board. This wasn't really a big issue in any of the previous updates, but I don't know, it just felt particularly nice to move around in this one. What I do know is that the max speed Sonic gameplay has been tightened considerably. A lot of the glitches where you can basically boost off bits in the environment to go ridiculous distances have been removed. There is still little bits here and there of that, but I've noticed a lot of the usual, more common ones have been taken out. And that's fine. I guess you could argue that it's more fun to kind of boost yourself over like crazy, but it's not like you had much problems getting around in the max speed section, so I feel like it probably does work for the best in terms of gameplay flow to remove these little bugs. There's been a lot more visual feedback with Tails' movement. When you fly in the air, you can actually see his body tensing and relaxing depending on if you're holding the flight button, which is a really nice change because you don't even need to necessarily look at the meter to know kind of when he's nearly about to run out of meter because it reflects in his character animations. He looks more tired. And it helps that he also doesn't drop like a rock like in the retail version. And the effects on Knuckles, his attacks have been like drastically improved in terms of their effects. There is another character that also benefits from this heavily, but we'll cross that gun-shaped bridge when we get to it. But whenever you control the Knuckles, he feels like a walking earthquake when he punches, and it's absolutely dope. I love it. It really gets across that he is the powerhouse of the group. But it doesn't slow him down to a ridiculous degree, like in the retail version. There hasn't been a ton of extra work done on Sonic's story, and to be honest, there didn't really need to be, since he was probably the most solid out of the three, but Team Dark's had a substantial amount of work done on them. Rouge is probably the odd one out here. From what I've been able to gather, she's more or less the same since the Shadow update, which is completely fine. She had no real issues there, and it goes for the same here. Her gameplay and her level structure is pretty much bang on, as good as it could possibly be, I think. But Shadow himself has had a lot of extra work done on him. His attacks all have this shaking effect like Knuckles do. I see we're crossing that gun-shaped bridge that I mentioned earlier. And he seems to have had a general increase in his speed. I think he was a little bit slower than Sonic in the Shadow update, although he was greatly increased in his speed from retail, well, all the characters were. But now he seems to be pretty much as fast as Sonic, along with a change to his running animation. It's more custom made, and in my opinion, it's far more fluid compared to the running animations in the last update, which were pretty much a one-to-one from the retail release with some extra flourishes on his rocket shoes, which it was fine, it got the job done, but this new running animation really makes him look how he moves in the CGI trailers. The same as when he goes into his like Chaos Snap mode. It really reminded me of the opening cutscene in Shout the Hedgehog when he's warping and taking out all those aliens. It's really cool. I feel like we're playing a fully buffed, fully decked out version of Shadow now, and I absolutely love it. Speaking of, I've also noticed that the motorbike feels a lot tighter and less, like, drifty, for lack of a better term, which is very good. I think the motorbike was probably my biggest problem with the Shadow update in PO6, but it's been greatly improved in my opinion. Also, I don't know if this was in the Shadow update, but it looks like when you're in your Chaos boosted form, you have infinite ammo whenever you're in any of the vehicles, which is really cool if it's meant to be a little reference to Shadow the Hedgehog, as you have infinite ammo when you have a good or evil meter full in that game. But I'm not 100% sure if that's intentional or if I just missed that. But it did look like he had infinite ammo when he was in his Chaos Boost mode. But the established character who's probably been changed the most is Omega. Seeming to take a lot out of the Sonic Heroes handbook here. Instead of the normal blasts that he had in the Shadow update and in retail. They're very kind of close up, quite strong grounded blast. He now has some physical swipes before he does the circular blast like he does in Heroes, and his lock-on attack comes out a lot quicker than before now, making it a lot more useful in terms of its utility. Thankfully, he still keeps the miniguns that were introduced in the Shadow update. I absolutely love those. But it means Omega's not as stop and go now. Now he's got some actual physical attacks. He can be a lot more on the move and taking down enemies while also keeping up that quick forward momentum. With Silver's campaign, right from the get-go you can tell a big focus was on the presentation. The intro cutscenes at the start of Crisis City, Tropical Jungle, and Kingdom Valley are amazing. And this is gonna sound like pretty selfish, but I guess a little criticism is I just honestly wish we had more of them across all three of the stories. Like, in the actual trailer for the Silver update, there's a great cutscene of Sonic right at the start of Wave Ocean looking at Eggman's battleship, and I was really disappointed that wasn't in the actual game. I guess that was just for the trailer or a work in progress maybe, but yeah, I just kind of wish that we had more of them, as well as Shadow's little cutscene of him beating enemies in White Acropolis. I wish that was included somewhere as well. But my favourite of what's been added has to be the Crisis City one. Blaze jumping in and Silver floating down and them nodding at each other like, alright, let's get to work. I love it. Silver's gameplay, of course, has been updated substantially. I'm going to talk about him in a little bit, but he's brought amigos Blaze and Amy along, like I mentioned before. Blaze plays very similar to a retail version, which is probably the best, since retail Blaze actually played pretty decently. Like, her and Sonic were the only characters that played halfway decently, in my opinion, in the actual released version of the game. But now she's got a little bit more utility. She's got more jumps, and she has a Flame Core move, which is basically a big swipe forward she can do while moving. It's not a move I use that often, to be honest, since a Fire Tornado's pretty much a go-to attack for me, but it does have its niche uses. But Amy has definitely had the biggest glow up by far out of any of the characters in Project 06. She's gone from the worst character by a huge margin in Retail 06 to becoming one of my favourites to play. She can now move while she's double jumping, she can move during a single hammer swing, a useless invisibility move has been replaced with a devastating hammer swing, and she can gain more height by bashing enemies with a hammer in midair a la Sonic Advance. And she can also use a hammer for a big jump like in Sonic Adventure 1. I will say one thing about Amy that doesn't really make sense to me is her hammer swing. If she does it for too long, she gets dizzy and you're not able to attack. You can just move while there are cartoon stars around her and she's all confused. Now that part I understand, it's most likely for gameplay balance, and since it is a little bit busted, but multiple characters like Tails and Blaze, as I just mentioned, have moves where they spin non-stop and they don't get dizzy. I just don't know why it only applies to Amy. Surely it should apply to all of them. After you non-stop spin for a little while, they get dizzy. But that is a minor nitpick, if anything. I mentioned them briefly in my Project 06 video on the Shadow update, but in this I actually tried all of the different homing attack and spin dash animations. I'm going to talk about the homing attack first, since I think that's the most substantial, since it does actually change your aerial trajectory when you use it. I gotta say, out of the three, Curved is by far my least favourite, followed by Normal, and then Legacy. I will say, if you wanted to play this game, do change the homing attack animation to Legacy, because it keeps your forward momentum and also putting you at a little bit of a downward angle, so you get a little bit more speed when you land. It definitely feels the most fluid and fun. I'm using that word fluid a lot, but hey, yeah, Project 06, its movement is very fluid, and it helps just flow into other jumps and spin dashes and other movements a lot better, in my opinion, than Legacy homing attack. As for the ball animations, I love the Sonic Adventure 2 spin dash, but I think its jump looks the worst out of the three. The Adventure 1 style is probably the most consistently good looking across the board, so that's the one I went with. I think every character looks really cool when they're in the Adventure 1 ball animation, jumping and spin dashing. But yeah, if the actual spin dash, but yeah, if the actual jumping animation and not just the spin dash looked that good, I would definitely say the Adventure 2 one would be the one to go for, but yeah, in my opinion, the Adventure 1 style is the most consistently nice looking across the board. So it's time to talk about the big man himself. Like the other main hedgehogs, Silver has numerous upgrades that can be found in his actual levels, but he keeps all of his additional moves that he got in the Shadow update in his small gameplay sections. He keeps the teleport dash and the projectile that he has, and you can also rapid fire it until your energy gauge runs out. I can't remember if that was something you were able to do in the Shadow update, but you can definitely do it here. The first upgrade of note is the Lotus of Resilience, which allows him to curl up into a ball when jumping, which is really good because it means he isn't a sitting duck whenever he has to jump. It really did throw me off, like playing Sonic and Shadow, where you are able to just jump normally and able to harm enemies when jumping, but Silver, because he doesn't go into a ball in his default animation, he just jumps up normally. I go to jump into an enemy to do a quick little bit of damage, and I get hit, and I'm like, wait, no, it's not supposed to be like it is in retail, but then I remember, no, Silver's different. So it's a little bit weird not having it to start out with, but I love having this as an upgrade. It just makes for a lot more versatility when playing as Silver, and it means you can use what the community have dubbed the Badnik bounce to jump and get more height, meaning you can teleport for a lot further. You can also use the teleport dash for the whole energy bar with the Lotus of Resilience as well, rather than just stopping halfway. Without that upgrade, Silver will just come to a dead stop when half of the energy gauge has been used for the teleport dash, but now that you got this upgrade, you can do it for the whole dash, and it's really, really good for getting around. The next upgrade is the Flame of Control, which allows Silver to charge his projectile into the Psychic Knife, which is a move that was taken from his boss fight in Sonic Generations, and yeah, this move is really good. It kills most enemies in one hit. I think the only enemies it doesn't just outright melt is the big, like, Titan enemies, but even then, it's usually just one hit off them being killed, so it is a really good move for crowd control, and it's a really good other form of utility other than his move where he drops straight down and creates a shockwave in the ground. That is probably his best move because obviously it just deactivates any enemy near him, but the Psychic Knife is a really cool addition too. His final upgrade is unlocked during Flame Core after S-ranking all of his stages. This unlocks the Sigil of Awakening, allowing you to play as fully awakened Silver. It works quite similarly to Shadow's fully boosted mode. It uses the energy gauge. It creates like a little maturity meter under it, which has little red ticks like Shadow's does. And once you've filled that out, you can go to fully awakened Silver. His slap that he has is now an instant kill. The initial activation nukes everything around you. It just instantly kills every enemy within a good distance of you. You passively block any projectile while fully awakened Silver is active, and it allows you to throw objects at a much further distance, and your meter usage is generally just drastically reduced, but this has worked best during hovering. I believe it's a 35% decrease, but you can teleport dash around when you fully awakened and cover some absolutely insane ground. You can just skip full sections of levels when this is active, and that is so cool to see. And also, the cutscene that plays when you actually unlock the Sigil of Awakening is amazing. It's hype as fuck watching Silver go to town on the Iblis Flame. They create like 3 unique cutscenes for that one level. It's absolutely amazing the amount of effort they go into with that. They have the default cutscene where you haven't unlocked the Sigil of Awakening. You have the cutscene of him actually unlocking it from Iblis's fireball, and you have it after you've got the Sigil of Awakening. The amount of effort in just that one level, and Silver's story in general for presentation, like I said before, is absolutely insane. I'm all here for it. I love it. I will say, as much as I've gushed about this project, and with good reason, it is an absolutely amazing fan creation, I do have a couple of small gripes still. Mainly with Silver's jumping, I feel like when he gets the Lotus of Resilience and he's able to turn into a ball, I know that none of the characters actually are still a ball on the way down from a jump and they can still be hit, but it feels like Silver's uncurls a little bit faster than everyone else's, so it just makes the timing of like jumping into enemies like that teensy bit off, and it can kind of make him a sitting duck sometimes. With Silver as well, I will say it is sometimes hard to get him to come to a stop when he's going full speed, not during his teleport dash, but just when he dashes on the ground. It does feel like sometimes, whereas some characters will just like stop like pretty soon after you stop sort of putting the control stick forward, Silver will take a couple of seconds to adjust, and it can mean that there is a little bit of a slipping off of platforms here and there, which can be kind of annoying when it doesn't really feel like it was your fault. But that might just be me not being able to gauge properly when he's stopping, since obviously he doesn't run like every other character in the game, so it might just be it feeling a little bit different and not it actually working different. I guess like a placebo effect on my part. Honestly, if Chaosx wanted to call it quits here, I think that would be completely fair enough now. We've gotten every single main level and every single story, along with vastly improved characters. But the teaser image after finishing Blaze's Wave Ocean implies he'll still be working on the project, so I'm gonna be really fucking greedy here and make a little wish list of what I would love to see from the development of Project 06, or just from mods in general. I really hope the teaser image implies all story bosses are going to be implemented and not just the final boss. That would be really cool if we could get all the story bosses, including the character battles, as well as the fight against Solaris. And obviously the end of the world as well. I feel like that kind of needs to be included before you fight Solaris. Maybe having them both together, maybe like something in Shadow the Hedgehog where you have the platforming mission in the last way, and then you've got the actual fight against Devil Doom. It would be cool if it was formatted a little bit like that. But it doesn't matter, I would just like the end of the world to be included as well if Solaris is going to be in. I think it only makes sense. I would love to see some form of hard mode from retail, some variation of that with the mixed up level design. Or the Boss Rush Very Hard or Team Attack Amigo DLC being re-implemented would be very nice. I feel like having hard mode back is probably more likely than any really of the DLC being included, but that would be really, really cool to see. Or it would be cool if we could get some sort of just general free mode or character select after we finish all the levels, where you can play as any character in any story, the main hedgehogs and amigos included, because I think it's messed up that I can only play as Amy in one little bit of Dusty Desert in the testing stage. Like, I want to play as Amy in Wave Ocean, or Omega in White Acropolis, or Blaze in Kingdom Valley. Like, I just want to see all the characters and all the levels. I know that there's the character select mod, but it would be great if we could get this actually implemented in Project 06 properly. And probably the biggest reaching one for me, I don't believe this is in any way realistic. This is just my fan adult brain going crazy, going haywire. But Super Shadow and Super Silver being playable in the regular levels. Maybe you could unlock them by re-adding the silver medals from Retail 06 into the levels and having them unlock that way, and it could be justified as them getting an even better form. But you may ask, what's Sonic gonna get? He's already got Super Sonic. Well, you get all the silver medals for him. What more perfect thing would it be to add than Hypersonic? I realise, again, this is extremely greedy, but that most of these are just very much a fan wish list for me. We've got plenty to chew on already, and part of it's already been made with, like I say, the character select mod, but getting a sort of official free mode where you can select characters from the menu would be cool, in my opinion. Having their own kind of individual ranks where you can get S ranks with all of them and it's all recorded for completionist's sake. That'd be really, really nice to see. I know I would do that. But, to be fair, we have plenty to chew on already, so, again, I'm being really greedy, but I just love this game and I just want more and more and more of it. I can't help it. And of course, the test levels are still as fun as ever to mess around in, featuring even more little challenges for extra goodies. You can drive around Shadow's car from Team Sonic Racing in there. I can't remember if that was in the Shadow update, but it was definitely here because I kept clipping into the environment and got stuck a couple times, just like in the floor. That was fun. There's also a section which I'm pretty sure is brand new, and it's a 3-key section for Knuckles specifically. Yeah, it's cool. I wish it unlocked something. I don't know whether just like maybe a costume or an extra little thing for Knuckles to mess around with in the testing stages, but it's just there just to be a fun little challenge, and that is completely fine. It is just a testing level. But what is newly introduced in this update are secret gateways, originally used to actually access levels in the retail game, that take you to the E3 demos for the first section of Silver's Crisis City and Sonic's Kingdom Valley. It keeps the retail level design, well, I say retail level design, the level design from the demos. I don't think it was far enough along to where they included the Iblis monsters, or they didn't want to spoil them, because Silver's Crisis City is all just Eggman robots. But the level design is one for one, whereas Chaosx takes liberties in the actual act versions of them that are used in their character sections. But it was still really fun to blast through with Project 06's vastly superior controls and game flow. It was kind of a really weird, like, sense of nostalgia that I never had, because I never actually played the demos. I didn't know that there was a demo of Silver's Crisis City till recently. I knew it was at E3, but as far as I was aware, the only one that was actually distributed was Sonic's Kingdom Valley, and I always wanted to play it since apparently it was actually built on an earlier release of the game that played better but was more buggy or less stable. But apparently it was like faster and just generally felt better to play. I'm not 100% sure on that. So getting to actually go through that in Project 06 was really, really a little baby me dream come true. Really weird little teeny tiny dream come true. I loved it. That's also probably why I want Super Shadow and Super Silver so bad, because I don't know if anyone's ever seen these, but like those old videos from 2012 that had like His World and All Hail Shadow and Dreams of an Absolution playing and Windows Movie Maker, and they modded how the super forms moved and looked in the final battle to just have them kind of jankily float around in the overworld and the levels. And now I can do that with Super Sonic. I think I mentioned that in the Shadow update as well, which I'm very grateful for. But I just want to see Super Shadow and Super Silver in the levels as well, man. Please! Now, I've just gone over my crazy fan wants for any sort of next update to Project 06, but what do I realistically think is going to be included if there is going to be a next one? I think based on the teaser image, the final boss is pretty much a guarantee to be in. I'd say because of that, the end of the world is also more than likely going to be in. But I think the next update is probably going to have more of a focus on the story and presentation, maybe adding some more cutscenes to the other character acts luckily, maybe even the rest of the bosses, although I think it probably will just be the final boss for now. I think if they are going to include the rest of the bosses, it'll probably be a boss dedicated update if this one isn't a boss dedicated update and it's more story / the final act. But at the moment, I think Project 06, if you couldn't tell, is absolutely amazing, and it is definitely worth your time. It's free, it's not a massive download, especially if you turn down some of the graphical settings. If you've got weaker hardware, it generally runs pretty smoothly. Like, the only time I've ever had any issues with the game's performance is specifically in Aquatic Base, where you can hit the switch, the magnetic switch, and all the enemies die instantly and all the bubbles come at it at once. That makes my computer freak out for like 2 seconds, but other than that, it runs absolutely fine. It runs like a dream. But I do not think that this project really is truly lacking anything by any means. Like I said before, honestly, if Chaosx wanted to say, yeah, you know, that's it, it's all the levels, added extra stuff. I've done everything I wanted to do. Project 06, as far as I'm concerned, is done. I would say that is absolutely fair enough, and he's created a absolutely amazing game from the ashes of a game that really did have potential, and like I mentioned in my actual video on Sonic 06, is mainly within the level design, but it was just absolutely botched beyond disrepair due to corporate meddling and just a general hellish development cycle. I mean, there's just enough like general polish for Chaosx to have time to just implement a cameo of Chaos in Shadow's Kingdom Valley. Like, he's just chilling in the background, and I just love stuff like that. Just chilling, yeah, what's up? I'm here. Got a whole new ass model that looks really good just for a little cameo. Doesn't elaborate further, leaves. Amazing. But yeah, Project 06, honestly, is probably everything that the development team back then wanted Sonic 06 to be, that they envisioned Sonic 06 to be, and more. So Chaosx is, like in the Shadow update, has done a fantastic job on this in this Silver update, and yeah, I think if you download this, you are absolutely guaranteed a good time. But I want to thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye bye.